So what a treat to be here in the Ulster showroom. But actually, this event is not only an Ulster Carpets event. It's an event by 5 British manufacturing commercial interior furniture suppliers who are actually all Commercial Interiors UK members, which is absolutely fantastic. So you're welcomed here today by Ulster Carpets, Panaz, Sanderson, Hypnos, and Numore Wall Coverings. And their teams are all here to have a chat with you whilst we all enjoy some food and drink afterwards. My name's Alice Bryan. I'm the editorial director of online magazine Design Insider. And as I know most of you know, Design Insider is the media partner of Trade Association Commercial Interiors UK. And actually, our team is also here this evening. So if you have any questions about how your business could benefit from membership, obviously, we are all happy to have a chat with you about that. Or if you'd like to talk about the work that we do with Design Insider, then obviously come over and say hi. As you can tell, I'm not sat here alone. I'm here with 4 absolutely fantastic speakers, and we're here to talk about materiality. We're going to talk about it in line with British manufacturing and how that relates to sustainability. We're going to talk for maybe about 40 minutes. And then when we've finished our conversation, we're going to open it out to you. So let me introduce my speakers. Welcome, Jack Pringle, MD of Studio Pringle and chair of the RIBA board. Welcome. Welcome, Sam Hall, Director, Interior Design Europe for IHG Hotels and Resorts. Welcome, Sam. And welcome, Tom Thorogood, Partner and Co-Head of Interiors at Studio Maren. And Joanna Knight, welcome, Co-Founder of the Sustainable Design Collective. So we're going to just start our conversation and leap in with a look at going beyond surface level messaging when it comes to sustainability. Sam, why is it so important to go beyond the sort of keywords and those words we're so overfamiliar with now, like sustainability?
Well, we actually did a talk earlier as well, which fundamentally you either believe we're going into global warming or you don't. You know, it's what you one or the other. There's been a lot of chat. It's there's a global kind of a sigh every time you say the word sustainability, but really it's environmental. It's everything. You've got to do something. You know, it's all talk. You've got to take action. Just make some small changes, and there's we can make a huge difference if we all just do one little thing.
And you have a new phrase, a new go-to.
My new go-to is designing sustainability in and designing waste and impact out.
That's one for everybody to work towards and weave into their conversations as well. Jo, perhaps you could pick the conversation up there. In what way is the language you're using diluting the impact of some of our sustainability sort of initiatives and actions?
Well, before I answer your question, I would like to point out that today is the UK Global Overshoot Day. So basically that's the day that we have used up our allocation of the world's ecological resources. And so from now onwards, this country's on borrowed time. And what makes it even harder is the fact that it was in June last year and July the year before. So we're not getting better, we're getting worse. So the talk about sustainability is good because unless we're thinking about it, we're not doing anything about it. I like the definition of sustainability being people, planet, and profit, because whether we like it or not, I know some people have turned the P profit into something beyond commercial profit, but I do think it's important because ultimately we have to make a way of doing these changes which actually are viable, because we all have to earn money. Well, most of us do, myself included. So I just think we need to really focus on what are we doing? And we can't just keep making new things, even if they're marginally better than the previous iteration, and then throwing it away. It's not viable. Yeah. So I guess that was my big message.
No, that's great. Fantastic. Well, actually, audience, you don't get away quite so lightly. I've got a few audience questions. It's hands up for yes, and then hands up for no. So my first one is, have you ever felt unsure whether material marketed as sustainable truly was? Yes? Okay. No. Which one? Okay. So perhaps that is something that so many of you have already experienced. So now let's move on to a slightly more positive note, I suppose. Tom, coming to you, what does meaningful collaboration between designers and manufacturers really look like?
So I think, working with Ulster a lot, going to the factory trip last year was really insightful and stuff. So that was good. So actually it's working out things like rug optimization, which was really interesting. So actually all the rugs that we've got within the hotel, actually going back to them and just saying, okay, what do we do in order to fit 2 of these onto one loom? And things like that. And then also if we actually, kind of maximum 25 colors for them, like stick to that within one hotel. So actually all of the public areas, all of the guest rooms are actually within those colors. You can still get a wide range of kind of different colors and different designs, but it just kind of helps the kind of efficiency of the production.
So it's small alterations through that collaboration that enables the production to be more sustainable.
Yeah. So it hasn't really had an effect with regards to the creativity. It's purely just kind of seeing what we can actually do to improve it and work with the suppliers and not actually put all the pressure on them.
Fantastic. Thank you. So Jack, when you're looking at that same question, but from an architectural point of view, what does a collaboration between architects and manufacturers look like that's sort of successful?
Sure. I'll come to that in just 1 minute because
I
want to steal some of the other questions first.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, sustainability is a much sort of misunderstood word, as you've said. But 20 years ago, I was involved through the RIBA in supporting this idea of global commons. And that was the idea of getting each country to have their own targets proportionally that they would hit on sustainability. And which is very interesting. And of course, nobody has done it. And the question that I'm asked all the time is, well, why should we bother? We're only 60 million in this country. You've got India and China, 2.5 billion, nearly 3 billion between them, building coal-fired power stations. What we do is minimal compared to all of that. Mm-hmm. And the answer is, as an advanced economy, as an advanced society, we should set an example.
Yes.
And we should keep setting an example. So in fact, all the small things that we do don't really make a difference in themselves when they're drowned out by coal-fired power stations being built by the day in the East. But long term, as they accumulate, set an example, they absolutely do. Mm-hmm. So to return to your question.
Yes, that's fine.
I have really enjoyed working with material manufacturers and product manufacturers to modify the components. I've done it on a number of things, furniture and partitions in particular. Actually, when I first started out in a career, we just hated all the partitions that were being built. And we said to one manufacturer, just send us a 50 millimeter length offcut of every standard aluminium section you make, and we'll make you a new system out of it. And we did, and they marketed it, and it was their most successful product for the next 10 years. So that was terrific. Mm-hmm. Also in desking, I think there was a time when desking manufacturers just thought the way to go was to be more and more complicated and more sophisticated and more expensive. Yes. And we worked with those manufacturers to strip their products right back, to cut the cost right down, to make the manufacturer much more easy and I guess more sustainable as well. And it was huge fun. I mean, to get involved in the manufacturing process is a privilege.
Well, and a learning experience, isn't it? And it's always a joy to learn.
Oh, it's great
more.
to go to a factory.
Yes.
I mean, it really is great. I mean, it's a fabulous day out. So I've always enjoyed that.
And I would say that the manufacturers that have brought us here today really are setting an example in how they can set sustainability goals and reach and exceed those targets, which leads nicely, Sam, to ask sort of, well, what role does trust and transparency play in that collaborative process between designer and manufacturer?
It's huge. There's a story about this. I was in the Ulster factory and we're walking around and there's bags of this dust. I was with Anya and Joey, everybody from YHG. And equally, we've been chatting to Hypnos about how do we make mattresses sustainable. We've calculated we go through 2,000 mattresses globally a week. And that's just IHG. And unfortunately, they don't go to landfill. They're incinerated most of the time, whether it's for energy or not, it's still burning something. So I'm like, I'm sure we could use this dust. Let's make it into a mattress. And there was bags of dust going back and forward, apparently. Everybody's been very polite and no one came back and just saying it just doesn't work. You're nuts. But it's more the point of it doesn't matter if we're doing it wrong. It's getting everybody chatting and doing something, because that thing that was wrong kind of leads to something else, and we get going and we get to where we need to be, and also just open and honest about it most of the time. I think it's interesting what you're saying about the aluminium framework. I think designers are problem solvers, and if you give someone the problem, they generally come up with a fantastic solution. The problem is when they're reinventing the wheel and kind of churning out something that's happened before. Yes.
Of course you may. Absolutely.
I think one of the most shocking things that's happened in recent history is to do with trust in manufacturers. And it's Grenfell, which killed 72 people because we couldn't trust the specification of the materials that were put forward. So trust is absolutely vital, and we don't have good enough testing regimes in this country that we can trust.
Very good point.
Alice, can I jump in?
You can, Joe.
I just want to pull up on the Eastern, so China and India analogy, or mentioning about coal-fired boilers and power stations, sorry. It's not entirely true. There is some tremendous efforts being undertaken. It's just the sheer scale. And India, we also have a sustainable design collective in India, and the work that's being done in terms of sustainability there, I do accept it's the sheer scale is the issue. But let's not be sanctimonious. We ain't great in this country.
Sorry, I had to say something. I think it's fantastic. We're not necessarily here to entirely agree, so it's no problem at all. Tom, do you think that there are occasions where working with UK-based manufacturers means that they can be slightly more agile in allowing designers to co-create?
Not necessarily. I think it's just more about the manufacturer themselves. Like we work on projects all over the world, and it's more about different manufacturers and what they allow you to do with regards to customization, bespoke, anything like that. But all the ones here today are obviously great at it.
Well recovered there. Perfect. Okay, back out for another audience question. So, audience, have you experienced a project where supplier collaboration changed the final design for the better? So, yes, you've collaborated and it's improved it for the better? No, but perhaps you'd like to? Okay, absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you. You would like to more? Yes, okay. So, if we look a little bit at the workplace and some of the workplace trends, Jack, how are they reshaping material expectations in in hospitality design, you know, that sort of grey area and that link between workplace and hospitality?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's going both ways.
Yes.
Because of the hotelification of the workplace and the workplaceification of the hotel, and you can see both. You know, the workplace is becoming much more like sort of the range of amenities that you get in a hotel, and the sort of materials that you might use in hotels come into the workplace, and vice versa. I mean, you go into plenty of hotels. Hoxton's a prime example. Hoxton Hotel is a very busy workplace, and there are workplace materials in that hotel, you know, and workplace products in that hotel. So the whole there is a sort of Venn diagramming or blurring of the boundaries between both sectors, which I think is very nice, actually. Yeah. It adds for a variety in life, and the office is a far less dull place than it was just 20 years ago because of this. And technology has enabled this to a large extent. Yeah. You know, the iPhone, which was invented in 2007 or something, means that you can work from a sofa. You can do all your emails. You can work on the move. So yes, technology has freed us from being chained to desks, and so we can work in hotels.
Sam, have you found that there have been perhaps suppliers that you've been able to work with that traditionally had been more in the workplace sector? Now there has been a change in hospitality.
I think it's the approach to the method. I think it's, we all need our space to work harder, and to point is we're all commercial. We all have to make money. It's like we love design, but if it was just that, we'd be sat at home. So, when it's an office, we've all come out of lockdown. We've all been working from home. We like this relaxed feel. Equally, we have these hotel lobbies where people are having coffee, and what else can it do? I mean, we did a great project with Newmore, just thinking, in Berlin, and we had this, pretty soulless, let's call it, that dining space. And, it had some direction stuff, and Newmore have came up with a great mural that could be run through the space. Equally, it's really easy to be installed, and, it kind of, things spark off different areas. We all look at different spaces, and it triggers off design in different ways. But fundamentally, it's just ease of use. It doesn't matter whether you're in the office or in a hotel. You want to, everything should be easy for you.
Yeah, sort of intuitive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back to that topic of joy. And Tom, perhaps, why is it so joyful when designers discover new materials? And what do you really look for when you're looking at new materials?
I think it's always exciting. Like, we as designers kind of love finding new things and working out how we can kind of use them in our designs. And I think it's nice kind of fully understanding kind of the whole story of the product and how they're creating it, and if it's something kind of really innovative or kind of, like fully understanding the product, the process. Like all designers as well, like we both said, like love a factory trip and kind of actually fully understanding kind of the process of something. So
part of what you look at is that sort of in-depth narrative of the material, not just its use, but every element and every layer of where it's come from and how it's processed.
Kind of as much as possible, because there's obviously a lot of things that we're specifying within. So a lot of times it's kind of really trusting the supplier, talking to the supplier, and really kind of working with them and collaborating with them. But for lots of as many of the key elements as well, like really getting that story in and kind of understanding that, which then helps our concept narrative as well as kind of the overall sustainability aspect of the project.
Fantastic. Thank you. Jo, when these new materials are brought to market from a sustainability perspective, what are you finding that designers are asking for from that material? And are there sort of, I suppose I'm thinking about certification or passporting, or, what these new materials now need to demonstrate and how their credentials need to be communicated?
Well, I think first of all, you have to be very careful with new materials because there's a lot of emperor's new clothes. And I think people don't do the deep dive. I'm sure you do, Tom, but but don't do the deep dive into the unintended consequences. I always use the example of, particularly during COVID, suddenly furniture manufacturers thought bamboo was the best thing since sliced bread, and look what we can do with bamboo, because it's the most amazing carbon sink. It grows really quickly. And seriously, bamboo has a huge potential to be the new palm oil. Nothing wrong with palm oil, except for we planted it everywhere and you had this massive monoculture and devastated biodiversity. So there can't be a race to adopt new materials without really understanding the consequences and the why. Why are you doing it? Are you just doing it to get the marketing message out there and saying, hey, listen, are we really sustainable? But in terms of, well, I'm bound to, I have issues with EPDs, so perhaps we won't go there. But on the other hand, it's as good as, people need to have some.
I think you can explain some of the challenges that you think EPDs have created.
Well, first of all, cost, and I know they are coming down in price. Because of the cost, it actually can prevent innovation, because if you spent all this dosh on getting this fabulous EPD, and, typically you're talking 10 to 15,000 pounds, not so much now. I do accept it's coming down. But equally, the boundary rules are such that you're not getting a true picture. You're getting a picture according to the EPD rules. And similarly, if you're not all using the same databases, you're not getting a true parity. And you can't compare one EPD with another without really knowing how it was compiled. But nonetheless, I think it's focusing the mindset. I'm really excited about digital product passports because I'm doing work in them. No, because I think it's transparency. With global supply chains now, it's so hard to know where those materials actually have come from and what their provenance are. Do they come from factories that are using child labour? Have they, do you really know the full supply chain? But more importantly, can you then in the future retrace steps, which we can't do at the moment? I know that's sort of going beyond material into products. But I just feel it's a real game changer. Because so often, if you turn a piece of furniture upside down, I don't suppose we really want to here, but, you won't find any labeling on there at all. You won't know who made it, when it was made, whether you can get spare parts. And so what happens? It gets chucked away.
Yeah. Fantastic. And we're going to come back to that global supply chain in just a moment. But before we do, Sam, I want to ask, I know at IHG you work with preferred suppliers, and how does... Can you tell me a little bit more, I suppose, about how that works?